WTKS.
Welcome back. It's Straight Talk on your Thursday morning. The number is 912-264-TALK, 912-264-8255. Email address is scott@ryfun.com. But right now, as promised, our buddy, the author of How the Force Can Fix the World, which I believe is now out in paperback, Stephen Kent. Stephen's got a piece on The Hill today about this antitrust suit that the FTC is going after Microsoft and Activision Blizzard over Call of Duty. Do I have that right?
More or less, Scott. Good morning to you. Yeah, we've got the FTC and Biden's nominee to the Federal Trade Commission, Lina Khan, going after Microsoft over their bid to acquire another video game company called Activision Blizzard, notably who is the owner and proprietor of Call of Duty. So very weirdly, the Biden administration thinks it is the business of the federal government to make sure that all platforms, Sony, Nintendo, Xbox, that they all have access to Call of Duty.
And all I can think is if they're worried about all the different platforms, Microsoft could just step up and go, look, we've already lost the console wars. I mean, where were you then?
Yeah, and that's part of what they've been saying. There's the basic argument being made here by Lina Khan's FTC is that Microsoft acquiring Activision Blizzard presents some sort of, big tech conglomeration antitrust threat, and that it will present a threat to competition if these two companies merge. But Microsoft has very deftly pointed out that they are third in the world on consoles, and they also consider themselves to be far behind the likes of handheld gaming devices like Nintendo's Switch. Now, the only company here that is actively advocating for the FTC to stop this acquisition is, of course, the number one gaming console company in the world, the Japanese seller, Sony. So why is Sony's PlayStation so invested in stopping this merger? I think it's pretty obvious. They just don't want two of their rivals to come together and threaten them.
Sure. And you've got Sony, you've got Nintendo, as you say, Microsoft is a distant third. But that field kind of it fluctuates based on competitiveness. And so it seems like the competition is there. What does somebody like an Electronic Arts say? Because I know they're one of the huge video game developers. They go, what are we, chicken feed here? I mean,
I haven't heard any testimony from EA over the course of this 5-day hearing being held out in San Francisco. They are working with federal, district court Judge Corley, and Corley has not brought in any of those types to testify on this. But what has really been drawn out into the light of day is that Lina Khan, Biden's pick to run the Federal Trade Commission, is really just vindictive when it comes to these antitrust issues.
Yeah, this is not her first. This is not her first rodeo.
No, it's not, and she's been losing a lot of battles, Scott. This girl, by the way, I just say girl because she's like my age. She's 34 years old. I am also, and I'm kind of stunned at the fights that she has picked coming right out of Yale. She is someone who wrote in college a bunch about, the antitrust battles against John D. Rockefeller and Standard Oil in the early 20th century. And she sees herself as a successor to those, very romanticized kind of leftist battles. And she sees the enemy of Standard Oil in the likes of Microsoft and Xbox, oddly. It's just kind of weird to me, the fights that this person picks, because she's going to lose. This is not going to succeed in court, but that's not the point. The point is not to win. It's to extract costs from the corporate sector for growth. She does not want to see companies merge and grow without there being a toll paid to the federal government.
This, for some reason, I keep going back to when the Clinton administration went after Microsoft because everybody liked Windows. And they, it was like, oh, here's a company that's making money hand over fist. How can we put ourselves into that cash stream?
Yeah, it's just one of these things where I look at these tech companies, and it's always changing who is up and who is down. Microsoft used to be the unquestioned leader in computer tech. I would now definitely call it Apple. And I really did not even know until watching this trial out in San Francisco play out that Microsoft is in third place worldwide. I thought the Xbox was the standard, but that turns out to be completely false because we are in a global market, and Microsoft brought forward the evidence, they brought the numbers, and were able to show that they are the third in the world, and that Sony's PlayStation is just crushing the market with 70% dominance. So Microsoft and Activision coming together and sharing their tools and resources, Microsoft's incredible ability to produce consoles, and Activision Blizzard's propensity for making great games, they're very aligned companies, and they should be coming together to offer consumers great products, but the FTC doesn't want them to.
Well, let me ask you this. It seems like there may be a tendency among some on the left to equate big, successful business with trusts and with monopolies. And that's not really the case, clearly, especially in light of this particular situation. But it seems like they'll tend to go after anybody who is the big guy and start claiming antitrust.
Yeah, that's right. And most of Lina Khan and the FTC's issues with Microsoft are much broader than the video gaming market. They're concerned with Microsoft on, a lot of their other aspects of their business besides video gaming. And it just seems like this is sort of an effort at trolling them on something that's, really not presenting a huge antitrust threat. I think the important thing to understand, though, about, these sort of leftist FTC types and the Biden administration is that they don't really agree with the current framework for defining antitrust threats. Again, Lina Khan has written numerous times, including right as she was graduating Yale, that just focusing on consumer welfare is not a broad enough way of thinking about the ills and hazards that lacks of competition might bring. That's part of what she wrote, meaning that consumer interest is not her motivating factor. She's concerned more about the power of companies in society. Okay, that's a leftist framework for thinking about the economy, thinking about power and the balance of power. But this is not the job of the FTC.
No, Federal Trade Commission. They're not the Federal Power Commission. They're the Federal Trade Commission. And she's picked a fight. I mean, she's gone after Amazon before. What she hit Amazon over?
So they recently just filed a suit against Amazon over Amazon Prime. The long and short of it is that they feel it is too hard for consumers to cancel their Amazon Prime subscriptions, and they find that there are some users on Amazon who are finding themselves subscribed to Prime when they did not intend to subscribe. This is bogus. It takes 5 clicks to get to the end of Amazon's unsubscribe portal for Prime. And also, again, this is not really about the subscription model. What they are really going after Amazon for is Prime products. They don't like that Amazon is a seller, a marketplace that also has name brand generic goods that are incredibly cheap. I can get Amazon name brand batteries for very, very cheap through Prime, undercutting Duracell and Energizer, and this is what they don't like. But consumers love Amazon Prime, and so they're just going to throw a bunch of mud at the wall and see what sticks.
Unbelievable. It's stunning to me the in a time like this when we are facing a number of economic headwinds, and we just got a report just came out. The CBO estimates that the deficit is going to go nuts over the next decade or so, and to start picking fights like this that are clearly not on behalf of the consumer, that are clearly not beneficial to you and me actually spending our cash, is just it baffles me.
Yeah, that's right. I do believe that we have some incredible struggles and challenges that the federal government does need to actually engage on in the years ahead, whether it be artificial intelligence, whether it be, I would say that the business models and practices of some of our social media companies and how they interact with child welfare and that kind of stuff. Like, these are really important things for any society to figure out what's going on. But for some reason, Lina Khan's FTC is busy just collecting tolls from under the bridge from video game companies looking to merge and make Call of Duty some kind of public utility. It's just bogus.
Yeah, that's the thing. It seems like it's not only not going to get legal traction, but it's also not going to get public traction. She's not going to generate public goodwill by going after and blocking this merger.
No, certainly not. I mean, look, I write a lot of op-eds and commentaries on policy and politics, but I have never seen an article that I've written blow up like the one that I put out in The Hill on the FTC and Lina Khan, because video gamers are okay with this merger by and large. It's going to be good for them. It's going to be good for Xbox Game Pass members, and Sony is going to be just fine. It's not in the interest of Microsoft to cut off Sony PlayStation from Call of Duty. In fact, they have found in this trial that Microsoft has offered them numerous deals to extend their license on Call of Duty so PlayStation can have it, even the Nintendo Switch. But these companies don't actually care about that. Sony's CEO was revealed to have said during emails leading up to this court hearing that he simply just wants to block this merger. So why is our FTC working for a Japanese company like Sony looking to block a merger in the United States? It's just not right.
You have a newsletter called This Is the Way that I get in my inbox. Always find it a very intellectually stimulating read. It's very thoughtful pieces that you put in there.
No, thank you. I appreciate that, Scott. And This Is the Way is a great newsletter for anybody who's interested in, just philosophy, pop culture, and a lot of parenting and workplace advice. I also just added a collaborator to This Is the Way named Riley Blanton, who's just an incredible podcaster and commentator. He's a military guy, and so This Is the Way is expanding its outputs a little bit and going to be offering just a lot of advice for readers. So people should subscribe. It's thisistheway.substack.com.
This is so funny because when you describe Riley as an incredible podcaster and commentator and a military guy, and see, when I think of Riley Blunt, I go, he's a good kid. So I guess that's probably a generational thing there.
Nerd.
But yeah, both of you are people who, the ways in which you think and express yourself, I really appreciate, even when you and I don't agree, and you and I have not agreed from time to time, but I love hearing how you think about things, regardless of that. So I would recommend anybody do This Is the Way. It's at Substack. Also, I would also recommend you pick up How the Force Can Fix the World. Stephen Kent, thanks for jumping into the fray with us here this morning.
Happy to do it, Scott. Thank you.
All right, man. Take care. Safe travels. Stephen Kent, again, This Is the Way is on Substack. He's with the Consumer Choice Center. His new piece is on The Hill. The guy is busy.